All right, welcome back to Cyber Unfiltered, where we just randomly pick shit every single week and we just talk about it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Pretty much, right? We do a little green room, we yap it up, and then we pop on here and we go live for everybody. So, Matt, Bob brought this up, and Matt, I think you did the most research. So let's just dive into it.
I found some fun, interesting things in a few minutes, but I think you all probably remember when we talked about a certain ServiceNow breach, and ServiceNow is a product used for basically managing IT systems, everything from ticketing to assets, and usually in massive corporations. When I did a stint at the VA, ServiceNow is their application of choice. So they actually run IT, not run IT, but they're used in IT in 85% of Fortune 500 companies. So you think they're big, they do their shit right. However, it was back in 2020, they had a major vulnerability because it was discovered their default password, which was not changed on something, was, I believe, SolarWinds 123 or something along those lines. Anyway, similar to that.
Oh.
Okay, that was SolarWinds, not ServiceNow.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to ServiceNow. Very similar situation where ServiceNow has an API open to be integrated into an AI. And it's been recently discovered that the API key they chose was, well, let me find this because it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. It's ServiceNow External AI Agent. So
it was a hard-coded credential, right?
It's a hard-coded credential, and it is clear text, very simple to figure out. ServiceNow External AI Agent. Now, with the API URL, which is not hard to find, and that string of characters, all you need is an email address, any email address within the ServiceNow system. And that allows you to retrieve any information that user would be able to access, completely unfiltered. So basically, if you know the administrator email address and that API key, guess what? You get the system. Good news, has not been used in the wild, supposedly.
Yeah, right.
Well, it was patched too.
The patch has been released anyway.
Yeah, but here's a bigger thing. How easy is that to exploit? Because like all you have to do is go, because they're Fortune 500s, almost everybody's LinkedIn, right? So you can go on LinkedIn, you can figure out who like their IT service manager is, or IT manager, or CIO, or something like that. Take their email address, use this, and impersonate them inside of ServiceNow. I wonder what access you could get, because they also do some AI stuff too, or some HR stuff too.
Yeah, well, the thing with this one is, it was, you were connecting to an AI agent in there, and what was it trained on? How much data could it get? And one thing I read was like, yeah, you could potentially use that to go get to other things.
Well, and you don't have to hack.
Yeah, there was no hacking. It was logging.
Yeah, and then
what can you give me?
The researcher himself, he said he used the dumb chatbot bypass to talk to the smart AI agent. So yeah, like basically full platform takeover, right? So you're an admin, you can steal data, jump to other connected systems. Like, because think about it, I think you can connect like Salesforce into this.
Yeah.
Other applications. So like whatever you can get into. I mean, what about Microsoft? What about AWS?
I'm sure there was ways to move laterally on that. And again, a patch has been released.
But technically, is that
for the announcement,
or just somebody left the door open?
Yeah. Patch your shit. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, but also it's an AI agent, so it's kind of like exposing the dangers of AI agents when the security isn't quite up to par, right? Mm-hmm. So hard coding an API key.
But that brings up another point, Chris. We've got all these vendors out that are putting AI agents and enabling AI features in stuff that people have been using forever, and and most of the time we're seeing that people are just getting that new feature and not having the option to say, oh, I don't want it, or don't import my data, and that now it's like, okay, what's going on?
And these companies aren't writing their own agents; they're integrating something that exists. So
right,
sure,
it's rushed sometimes.
I don't know for ServiceNow though. It might be their own agent. I mean, they're a big company.
Maybe, or they purchase code or the use of one.
Sure,
I doubt they wrote it from scratch. Regardless.
But somebody made a choice to hard code an API key. So like, let's just.
There's a lot bad there. Simple key. It's hard coded, and at no point was there more authentication required than an email address and that key.
Yeah. Let's move on to Microsoft, because they're having quite the week. We had a 365 outage the other day. But that's not even what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the shit show that was Patch Tuesday this month. Whew, man, how so? They had 114 flaws in the patch that came out on January 13th, right? There's a 0-day in the desktop Windows Manager that I believe was being used in the wild. I could be wrong on that, but they patched it and they broke so many things. Computers couldn't shut down. They couldn't hibernate. If you used Azure Virtual Desktop, it broke the Windows app to connect to it. If you use Windows 365,
it's more secure if you don't have users on it.
It's fair. That's a fair point. If users can't use it. So their fix was to go back to the remote desktop services app. I think that's end of life in March, or
they're trying to get rid of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you could use the Windows app that was in the browser, which actually works really well. You just couldn't use the one from the store. So if you didn't have that published already, it was like a fire drill, especially if you're running a lot of people in Azure virtual desktops or virtual desktops in general, because I think it broke RDP, the whole remote desktop.
Yeah, we had that pop up with somebody yesterday, and it didn't raise its face until he changed his password.
Oh yeah, we had issues with other things. Apparently, OneDrive and Dropbox file operations were failing. Outlook would hang. I mean, these are things that were fixed on the 17th with an out of band fix. The problem is, I don't think the out of band fix was actually pushed to Windows Update. You had to manually get it. On the 24th, they released a second out of band update that fixed all of the previous ones, and this one actually went to Windows Update. So it fixed all of the ones from the 17th, and then it fixed the Outlook problems and some other security issues. I can attest it did fix the one that we had to load the out of band one on the 17th, because an out of band just means it wasn't released to like Windows Update per se, and it's out of like Patch Tuesday. It's basically an emergency fix for when
and probably not tested.
Screw up. I mean, it got tested, kind of
in production.
But, I mean, I'd ask, did the Patch Tuesday patch get tested? Because I mean, they broke some pretty serious stuff, like your computer not being able to shut down or hibernate. Like, how do you miss that in testing? This wasn't like a small number of devices either. So anyway, Microsoft started off strong with patching, so it's fixed now. But you had 11 days where,
it got weird.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how next month goes.
And it was a great message telling people to go back and use the old tool that I told you was bad.
We just had them use the web one. It worked really well. If you go full screen, you get all the key. I mean, it works just like normal. So
okay.
That was plus it looks the same, even though it just runs in the web browser.
But no one likes change. They're used to going to that icon, that button they click, and that.
We weren't going to go. We were going to once and they released a good article about it, like where you could use the web on it was fine. Why the authentication works in the browser and not on the local app, that's another story. But moving on, since we made fun of one company, let's just move on to Fortinet, who's had a rough couple of years here.
Years.
Their FortiSIM, which is to collect security information and events, right? It allowed unauthenticated attackers to write files and elevate privileges. Whoops.
So when a product is a function of security and monitor for security events causes them, you're saying that's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. And then on top of that, then they had a FortiCloud SSO login bypass. So that was fun. So you could just bypass single sign-on for their login to FortiCloud. Apparently, they originally patched that in December. They released initial patches in December, but then researchers later discovered another bypass on fully patched devices were still vulnerable. So Fortinet then confirmed attacks on the fully patched gear and provided indicators of compromise and accounts of suspicious IPs. So they're preparing a firmware update. I don't know if that's out yet. And then on top of that, and let's just go to a third one. Let's go trifecta. We love the trilogy, right? Because like the first one's always a good one, and then we get to the we get to that trilogy level. Apparently in some of their FortiOS SSL VPNs, there's a 2FA bypass. So
Still,
two-factor
They just
authentication,
don't
another
like
bypass.
two-factor working.
Nope. It was the username can bypass two-factor authentication due to an inconsistent case sensitivity between the FortiGate and LDAP servers. That's like Active Directory if you're doing something like that. So yeah, good times. So Fortinet, rough month, and hopefully they fix that FortiCloud. So that's a bad one. But let's you want to talk AI? Because I feel like we need to start talking more AI in here. What do you think?
We can. I feel like we just bashed enough vendors that absolutely, completely deserve it. But I mean,
I'm gonna give Microsoft props in a minute, so don't worry about that. So I want to bash them first, and then give props for something else.
That's good.
Did you guys see ChatGPT is gonna have ads in it for like the low tiers and the free tiers?
Yes.
oh great.
Yes. I kind of can't wait to see how this plays out, but I also don't want to see how this plays out. I'm on the fence. It's gonna be some entertainment.
If you don't go with the Go plan, which is I think is like was it $8 in the free plan, then you're not going to get ads. If you actually pay for like Plus Pro or
yeah, they're like adding lower tiers to like and trying to monetize the absolute free stuff where we're just making memes or folks are making memes. Which
I think it kind of shows that the cash burn that they're experiencing needs to slow because they need to not burn so much cash. And obviously, they're public,
not exactly profitable. I mean,
really,
there's no money left at the bottom of that profit and loss statement. That's kind of what it comes down to at the end of the day.
There's a serious cash burn going on.
Yeah, they're prepping it for a VC dump.
However, I have a feeling.
No, they're good. They're good.
I predict the ads in the lower tiers. This has to become a South Park episode somehow. I could just see
maybe
that spinning out in a very entertaining way of poor Kyle in school trying to get help with his homework and some ridiculous ad with Did
you see the South Park that they already did where they were talking about ChatGPT? Like they had the husband or whatever that was like so addicted to ChatGPT and he was just
they were very quick.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, and you can take that all the way back to when he had to unplug the Linksys router, but we can only talk about certain things with that on this show. But a few of you have a chuckle.
Yeah. Apparently, they're not going to sell the user data or let it influence the answers.
We trust
That's what they're saying. I mean, I don't think I trust many tech companies right now with certain things because you keep finding out like Google's just settled a lawsuit about their voice listening to people. They don't have to pay that much for it either. But maybe, but they need to spend billions of dollars on infrastructure and they probably need to slow that cash burn. So, but Apple, if you didn't hear Apple, let's move on to Apple real quick. Coming up here next month, Siri is supposed to have Gemini finally tied into it because they signed that deal with Google. So Apple will do some of their AI internally, and then they're going to use Gemini, which would be interesting because they announced before they had before the ChatGPT integration. So I wonder if that's going to go away specifically with Siri or how they're going to do it. I haven't paid attention to it.
Apple AI powered by Google.
Oh, their searching has been powered by Google for a long time, right? Google pays them.
Yeah, but with with a little back scratching and some finances.
Well, I'm not going to use the term I was going to use, but like, so Google pays Apple for access to their users for search results. Apple's then going to take some of that money and pay Google to use Gemini.
So it's financially incestuous.
There it is. Let's go. All right. I was going to call it a circle something, but no, I was going to call it circle something. So we'll leave it at that.
Oh, what a web.
So I like where you went a little bit more.
It has gotten a little silly though when you think. But
it's the whole AI community in general, right? NVIDIA invests in companies and they buy NVIDIA chips. AMD invests in a company, they buy AMD chips. Okay, if I give you money and you buy the thing from me, it's a big circle. You know what? So we'll see how that plays out. But I want to give a shout out to Microsoft for something, right? I can't just downce on them because they've been doing a really good job from like working with law enforcement. Well, I'll downce on them in a minute too for something else, but they've been working with law enforcement to dismantle certain cybercrime marketplaces and things like that. They just helped take down the Red VDS infrastructure. It was basically a cybercrime as a service marketplace. They rented like disposable virtual desktops. They did phishing scams, business email compromise, things like that. You could buy a subscription for $24 a month and enable criminals to send millions of phishing emails. Yeah. Kind of cool. They would actually do AI tools like face swapping to trick victims and everything like that. Microsoft observed they had 2,600 virtual machines sending roughly 1 million phishing emails per day. They had compromised approximately 191,000 organizations worldwide.
It's just a scale thing.
Yeah. So Microsoft worked with, I think Europol they seized a bunch of domains and they worked with Europol to identify the operators. So that was super cool. But then they got served with some warrants from the FBI and gave away BitLocker keys to allow the government to unlock encrypted laptops. So that's a privacy concern.
Episode in itself, I think. Like that's.
I don't know if this is an episode.
With a warrant and new information that gets sketchy.
Well, so they've pushed back on warrants before. I don't know the whole details there, but if you get served with a warrant and you have the information, what are you supposed to do?
There's only so much wiggle room there.
Yeah, I mean, they get served with a court order. They could fight it. I don't know how much they fought it, but that's something else that happened this week. We can dive into that deeper.
Yeah, I could ramble on that for 10 minutes alone.
Yeah, we could see. Let's say next week we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about that. But that is something that just came out. So it's something to worry about.
So we talked a lot about a lot of issues, and we mentioned a lot of AI today. If anyone's watching this, you're using an AI tool, and your company doesn't know about it, or or you're using weird AI features. Love to hear what people are doing that is working, that makes you more productive, because it might make you a little unsafe too.
Man, but also, for all of you that are saying my employees don't use AI, yes, they freaking do. You just don't know it. So you might want to take a peek at that.
We're gonna have people coming back saying they're using like DeepSeek and stuff like that, and we're just gonna like turn off the episode. We're gonna cancel that episode real quick.
Anyway, guys, let's move on. And next week,
I hear someone banging on the door. I hope they have a warrant. Never mind.
All right. So next week we'll do a little bit deeper dive on the FBI and BitLocker thing. But yeah, if you have any comments, questions, leave them down below. Let us know, and we'll see you next week.
Stay warm.